Hey, this is Mark of Indie Traveler. Right now I'm on the Portuguese coast. I'm taking some wonderful surfing lessons here, but I thought I'd take a break from that and talk to you a little bit about how to be more successful in travel blogging. I know that this is a topic that a lot of people have asked me about, especially travel bloggers who are just starting out. So if that is you, if you're in the beginning of your journey as a travel blogger, maybe in the first year, or you're kind of still thinking about starting a travel blog, then I've got some really good tips to share with you. I want to start off straight away with my best tip for becoming a better travel blogger, having more success in creatively and commercially as well. And this is a tip that I got from someone back in 2012 when I started Indie Traveler. And it really rang true for me, and I think this is a tip that may sound obvious at first, but it's actually about something really fundamental. I don't think this is the secret to travel blogging. And it's this. This guy said to me, travel blogging or your travel blog isn't really about you. That is something that's really important to internalize and to really understand fully. Because on the surface, it seems like travel blogs really are about you because you're putting your own personality into it, you're putting your travel stories in it, your perspective on the world, and certainly that makes your travel blog about you, but it's not really about you. It's about your audience. And the sooner you understand that, the more refined your travel writing will become, and the easier it will become to find an audience. Now, what do I mean with this? A good exercise to do is to ask yourself, with every post you write, or even every paragraph that you write, why would anyone care? And that's maybe a silly thing to ask yourself, but it really helps you cut the things from your blog that people besides your friends and family wouldn't really be interested in. And this is something a lot of travel bloggers struggle with in the beginning. A lot of them come to it from the perspective of writing a travel diary. That's actually how I also started a little bit. Way in the beginning, I was kind of writing my blog as a diary, like this happened to me this day, this happened to me that day, kind of giving a play-by-play. And one of the problems with that is that sort of travel logistics and sort of the moment-to-moment stuff of your travels probably aren't that interesting for people to read about. So, maybe you're talking about taking a bus to Mexico City and the bus was canceled because it broke down and you had to get another bus, and then the ticket wasn't valid, so you had to actually get the train. Then you were at the train station and then you got really distracted by this taqueria, so you were eating tacos. Like, if you start writing like that, you're just going to lose people very, very quickly. So find the thing that you're most excited about, that you want people to know about this destination or this thing that happened, and put that first. Put that in your first paragraph, and then for every subsequent paragraph, think about why would people care? Why do they want to know this? Now, it also helps to think about your audience and try to kind of define your audience. Think about who would want to read your blog. Maybe they want to read your blog because they want to be entertained. And if that's what you're going for, then you should probably do some really amazing things while you travel, or you should have a really amazing writing style that it really involves people, even if the experiences are relatively mundane. Maybe you can tell them in such a way that's totally captivating. This is difficult though, and not a lot of travel blogs become successful just through storytelling. And that's because a lot of people on the internet aren't really looking for stories. They maybe they go to Netflix if they want a story. If they're searching things on Google or they're on social media, usually they want information. And so another good thing to think about is how practical or how useful is this to someone who might be planning a trip to the same destination. So even if you're telling a story, maybe you can put things into it that someone else might find useful if they're going there as well. Another great exercise that falls into the same category that I really recommend you do, and I realize that this is kind of like, travel blogging fundamentals. It's not necessarily like practical tips and tricks, but I think this is really important stuff. Go to your about page. If you don't have an about page on your blog, consider writing one. If you already have one, consider rewriting it, and try to figure out a way to tell your story without only focusing on yourself. This is another thing I learned back in the day. Like, there was a sort of a blogging course that really focused on this, and I thought it was very good advice. The about page obviously tells your story, but if it is too much about you, like my bucket list, my experience, look at me being amazing traveling, then it's not going to really click with people. But if you put something in there that's a hook for your audience, like a reason for them to follow you, you're gonna progress a lot more quickly. Something like that could be, it could be as simple as saying, I want to share with you ... and that's why you should follow me and check out my blog. Or it could be a little bit more of a mission, like maybe you want to show people that you can have amazing travel experiences even if you have a 9-to-5 job. Or maybe you want to show that solo travel isn't scary. Or maybe you want to show something else. I've done this a little bit on my blog. I haven't done it as much as other people, but doing that about page and making the connection to your audience and talking about why they should care about what you have to say is a really good way of getting into the right mindset. I would say, like, I'm talking here mostly about mindset and how you get into travel blogging. Thinking about your audience is important. Having the right expectations is also very important. There's a lot of travel blogging courses and ebooks and so on that kind of try to sell an idealized picture of being a travel blogger. So some people think it's easy. In my experiences, it's definitely not easy to. It's easy to start a travel blog, but getting some traction, that's very hard. So expect you at least have to work at this for a year, maybe longer, before you see any kind of initial results. The first year of travel blogging can be very sort of lonely. It can be very shitty. You post things and no one reads them except your mom. It's not great, but you have to kind of keep going. But don't think that every blog is going to be, a huge success. If you're doing this as a hobby, that's great. Take your hobby seriously. Do the things that the pros are doing. It's interesting to learn how to become a better travel blogger. If you have expectations for turning this into a profession or an income, just know that, it's a competitive field. A lot of people blog about travel. It's a fun topic to write about. Not a lot of people are blogging about mortgages or whatever. Like, everyone wants to blog about travel. So there's so many blogs out there. There's not that much money kind of going around in the travel industry, or potential sponsors or these kind of things. I know that some travel bloggers are kind of giving this image of success because they're kind of selling the lifestyle of being a blogger and digital nomad, but privately they kind of complain about the level of income they can achieve. So go into it with your eyes open, so to speak. I'm very happy with where Indie Traveler is now, creatively and commercially. It is a full-time thing for me now. It's not a side hustle. This is it. But I also know how difficult it was to break into that. It took a lot of years to get there. And I think, like, according to one list anyway, my blog is now one of the top 50 English language travel blogs. And you have to get into that list basically to see a real income from it. So don't expect the sort of fantasy of getting rich and having your laptop on the beach and just having the ultimate life. You don't take your laptop to the beach, by the way. It's stupid. Like, sand will get in your laptop. It's a terrible idea. But even though you should have the right expectations, know that there is also one big thing, which is if you keep going, you're going to have a leg up on everyone else, basically. A lot of blogs, they die after 6 months, after a year. People, there's a little bug here, I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep rolling. Basically, if you just keep going and you keep experimenting with different content types and trying to improve your writing, and you don't stop, you're gonna be in a much better position than a lot of people who try it out and they kind of quit because they get bored of it, or they don't think, or the results don't come as easily as they thought. Some more final thoughts on kind of the mindset and so on. Most travel blogs eventually find a thing. They find something that they specialize in. Some people call this a niche, having a niche, like a subtopic within travel, and this can be very powerful. But I'm gonna stray a little bit from the common advice that I hear everywhere. I don't think you need to know your niche from the very start. A lot of advice out there says you need to pin this down, like exactly like your travel blog is about luxury travel for 20-somethings from Belgium. Only that thing, or only this destination, and personally, I think you don't know that in the beginning yet. You don't know what's gonna work. You don't know what you're passionate about yet. So I think it's okay to take a year or so to experiment, to try out different types of posts, maybe stories, maybe how-to articles, or top things to see. Explore how you can improve your writing. Try different things out, and sometimes a niche or an area of focus will come to you. And you can pivot. You can always decide after a year, okay, now this is my thing. I'm gonna rebrand myself a little bit. I'm gonna change my about page again. I'm gonna, present myself as an expert on a certain subtopic of travel. But I think you can take your time to get there. Don't be afraid to go back to older content. This is huge. I don't see many people doing this actually, especially in the beginning. People kind of launch blog posts and then forget about them. Kind of as still that kind of travel diary mentality. What I encourage you to do is to go back to some of your earlier posts that you maybe did a couple of months ago and look at it with fresh eyes and think about what you could improve about those posts. Maybe there is some additional information you could add. I mean, okay, if this was like an amazing story that happened in a moment and you wrote it, the next day, and that's just the way you wrote it, maybe you shouldn't touch that. You shouldn't glorify that thing that happened right there and then and you wrote it up. But if it's kind of more an informational post, just go back and see what you can improve, and maybe you can rewrite some paragraphs or add better pictures to it. That's how I learned a lot as well myself. The posts I did in the beginning were actually super crappy. I am really embarrassed of them today if I see them back in my archives. But I kept going back to them and improving them. And after a while of travel blogging, you might even notice that some of your posts are getting a little bit more traction than other ones. They're more popular. They start ranking in Google, and that's a great time to go back to them and make them even better. So those are a couple of thoughts. I think you should, not put your personality into it, but don't just write for yourself. Don't just do it to show off what you're doing. Don't just give a beat by beat rundown of what you did every day. That's usually not that interesting to people. So think about your audience. Take your time to improve, to discover what your audience is. Think about your audience, and I think if you go into it with the right expectations and mindset, you can gain success quite a lot more quickly than if you have very unreasonable expectations and you are not positioning your blog in a way that makes it easy for people to connect with you. Yes, those are just a couple of thoughts. This was entirely unscripted, so I had to think about whether that was all I wanted to say, but I think those are just a couple of good tips for now. I might do another video with a few more practical tips that are more about the day-to-day operations of a travel blog. If you haven't started your travel blog yet, but you want to set one up, I've got a little video in which I explain how to do that and how to do that in a way that isn't going to hurt you later. Like, there's a bad way to set up a travel blog in the beginning and a good way in terms of like setting up WordPress and your server and these kind of things. If you want to do it the right way, I've got a great video on that, so check that out. Hope you found this somewhat interesting. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and this has been Marek from Portugal. I'm gonna go back to the beach now.